And Rob, let's get back to college football. It is the big story of what's going on right now, and it looks like they will, at least at this point, the plan is to go ahead with an NCAA national championship because the NCAA does not control the college bowl series and the college playoff, I should put it that way. And so you will, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are playing, and it looks like we will get, at least at this point, the plan is to have a national champion out of those sports. And when you look at it, one of the callers was right when they said 7 of the top 10 teams right now are in those 3 conferences. And so if you get a Clemson and say an Alabama and LSU,
you could sit
that's
there and
big.
sell it all you want, but I don't think
hard
it's
to sell.
You could sell it all you want to people who want to buy into it, but people in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and other, we'll just look at it. It is what it is. I mean, it's going to be a bastardized national championship, whether they want to believe it or not. So, I mean, they can go ahead and put on their TV show and jump around and tell everybody that this was great, but it ain't. It breaks the tradition of college football, and it's just not on par to be able to play some skeleton crew. I don't care where they rank in 7 of the 10. I just think that it's a bad look, and for them to go against the rest of college football and continue this, and even when you talk about the national championship being, the selection committee and the way that they do it, if right. I'm the Big Ten, I don't know if I want to be a part of it again. If you go on without us, if I even want to be a partner in that as we go forward, because the first sign of a pandemic, you just threw out the window everything that we had agreed on. I'd be salty, and I don't know if I would take part in it from as we go forward.
Where are they going to go?
Form their own, or just don't do something different.
The Big Ten and the Pac-12?
No, I don't know.
Fun.
Other schools, I don't know. I don't know what happens with this season. With the season goes. All I'm saying is, I wouldn't be game for it.
Well, that may be fine, and obviously, there's no doubt if they go ahead and have a national champion, it won't be the same. I mean, if you don't have the Big Ten with its great history, and the Pac-12, which isn't much now, but still has a history, and some of its teams are pretty good, it's going to be diminished. There is no doubt about that, but people will still be into it. People still think Clemson and whoever you want to take out of the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, are the best teams in the country. Outside of Ohio State, there's really nobody in those the Pac-12 and the Big Ten that people factor into the national championship race. So I agree with you that it'll be a little bit diminished, but I also say America will still be very much into it. Now, I'm with you on I don't see how some conferences don't think it's health safe to play and others think it's fine. So I'm with you on that they should all be uniform and do the same thing. But where we're at right now, people will be into it. If it's Clemson and LSU in the national championship game, it'll be huge. I think it'll be viewed just as big as it always is. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this because it is ridiculous. Because the medical doctors should be in more agreement than this, and thus the conferences should be in more agreement with this. But I'm just saying, with what we have right now, I do think people will pay major attention to it, and it'll be viewed as a big deal. Let's go to Dabo. I mean, he's instrumental in this whole situation. Dabo Swinney, of course, and the Clemson Tigers, who are ranked preseason number 1 in the coaches poll. He has spoken. I'm not sure if we have sound of this, Rob G. We don't have sound, but he spoke yesterday about his star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who has been one of the most outspoken players of this We Are United movement. And Trevor Lawrence has come out and said the players want to form a college football players association. And Dabo was asked about it, and here's his quote. I think it would be great to have a players association. That's different from a union. I'll say that. And Dabo has always, it's no secret, he is against a union. You remember when the guys from Northwestern tried to unionize, and Dabo was very much against it. He wasn't the only one, but he was very much against it. And Rob, I think what Dabo, by him saying we can have a players association, but we can't have a union. Dude, that is like saying, oh, they can the players can go create a social club. You know, they can go, have bake sales and things like that, but nothing serious is belittling the players. It's almost mocking them to me, because it's saying, what else would a players association be if it doesn't have the power of a union? What in the world good is it? The NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball players associations, that's what they're called, players associations, but they're unions. What do you think about it?
I mean, I just don't even, for whatever he's talking about makes no sense. It is a union. It would have to be a union where they collective bargaining bargain for everybody involved. And that's the only way the players are ever going to get power. As long as they're separate and people are doing what's best for them, they'll always be taken advantage of. There's power in collective bargaining, and you just have one voice, and you have a union chief, and he speaks for the membership, and of course, you have the way a union is laid out, and that's the only way you can do it. So, I wouldn't ask for him to endorse anything anyway. It's against what he wants. He wants ultimate power. So I don't need your endorsement. You know what I mean? Dabo Swinney, you can do whatever you want, but I don't need it. There's a coaches association. There's all kinds of other things. The players get screwed, and people like Dabo Swinney, I think, until players recognize, and like I've said all the time, until you stop feeding these guys, stop going to their schools, stop letting them recruit you, Chris, stop doing that, it's never going to change. When the good players say we're not going to play for Dabo Swinney, that's when Dabo Swinney will change. The one and done, and this is a little different, Chris, but I give Coach K credit. He could have fought the one and done. What did he do, Chris? He wanted to compete, right?
So
then
he
all of a
went
sudden,
and went and started getting one and dones.
Am I right? You can
he
sit
was
there
late
and say,
to the party in that, but he said, look, if I'm going to keep coaching, I got to do it.
Which one do you want to be? You want to never win another national championship? Right. Seriously. So Tom Izzo experienced that at Michigan State, Chris. For a while, he thought he kept a little engine that could. You know how long it's been since Tom Izzo won a national championship? 20 years,
Moby Dick
Chris.
Was a guppy?
Since Moby Dick was a guppy. Every time I can squeeze that in, I do. 20 years. You know what I'm just saying? It's about adapting. And if you don't adapt, you get left by the wayside. But it's up to the players, Chris. They can change it as a group. If you keep going to play for Dabo Swinney, then there you go. Then it's going to stay the same.
You're absolutely right. The NCAA is only going to give what it has to. Period. They've proven
That's how they did the likeness, Chris. What happened?
Right.
All of a sudden, the state of California, you guys better not do that. The governor signed it, and what happened, Chris? Overnight, they changed their mind.
They
Come
had
on.
no choice.
No choice.
Even back when the kids at Northwestern were trying to unionize, and remember, after that, the NCAA said, okay, that's when they started to give the players, they moved the scholarships from 1 year to 4 years in the Power 5 conferences. Remember that? Yep. And then they started giving them what they call cost of attendance stipends. That it was more than you usually got tuition, room and board, and meals, but the cost of attendance stipends covered more than that. Gave you a little bit of spending money. They only did it because they had to, because they were pushed up against the wall. And that is what it is going to take, Rob. You're absolutely right about that. And I think it's high time. Because let's face it, we've all, not all, but most of us have said the college kids need to get paid. And here is the phrase that is fooling a lot of people, Rob. Student athlete. Student athlete. So people, that plays into the whole myth of amateurism. But it's not amateurism. Here's what Woody Hayes, the legendary Woody Hayes, coach at Ohio State, said. And this was, he coached in the 60s and 70s.
Was this before or after he swung on a player during the game?
Yeah, I think it was after. I mean, that ended his career. So I think this was after. But, he coached in the 60s and 70s. Here's what he said. You don't attract the kinds of crowds it takes to fill these arenas unless you pay a lot of attention to your job. And the job, to some extent, for some of these boys, is football. And the job, to some extent, for some of these boys, is football. He's saying it's a job. Bear Bryant, another legend at Alabama, he said the same thing. It is a job. Players miss classes. They miss tests. Why? To be at practice, to be at games, and to travel. How is it not a job if you're doing all that? And, Rob, everybody else is making money off of the sports, off of college football and basketball, except the players. I'm talking about the coaches, the media, the television stations, the administrators, the athletic directors, everybody except the players. This is minor league football.
It is. There's no other way of looking at it. Yep. Without the pay. Without the pay.
That's all it is. It is minor league football. And I'm different. I know, and this is a problem, but I know with Title IX and people are like, well, how you going to pay the lacrosse players? Look, to me, the football and basketball players should get paid. Because everybody else doesn't have to put in the time. For a lot of other athletes, it is and as the NCAA puts it, an avocation. For a lot of other athletes, it's an extracurricular activity. For the big-time football and basketball players, it's your job. And it's been unfair for a long time. Everybody's kind of gone along with it. But it's coming fast, right? I do think it's coming. I don't think this is going away. And if this is kind of squashed on some level, I think it's going to come back again.
Yeah, I do too, just because of where we are in the world and the changes that we have seen. And I think players do see that. We've seen changes at Missouri where they got rid of the chancellor and the president. They did it. The players did it. And if somebody could go in and sell to the kids and show them what is doable and what's possible, Chris, if you band together, I think that would change stuff.